Hello everybody, Storm here. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV Online Stormblood. In the last episode, after getting the blessing of the Zayla tribes, we headed over to the Allegan structure that we need to reconfigure, and took care of that, and are now directing energy into the burn that we can then use to erect the barrier that we want to use to prevent Imperial airships from being able to cross the burn into Doma. And with that project on its way, and the defense of Doma kind of proceeding in the direction that he wants, he agreed to join us for the meeting of the various members of the Eorzean Alliance in Alamigo to begin to determine what to do moving forward. And at that meeting, it was determined that the Eorzean Alliance, even with the combined might of the various nations of that alliance, would be hard-pressed to deal with the Empire if the Empire were to attack in force. So, the plan was hatched to begin a campaign of subterfuge within the Empire itself, using the Shinobi to begin spreading rumors through the Empire that Xenos was in fact dead, and that his body was being inhabited by an Ascian, or a servant of darkness, some sort of evil entity. And that the goal was to be not necessarily to try to convince the populace of this fact, but to provide an excuse for the various dissident factions within the Empire who weren't happy with the fact that who the current emperor is, which I can't recall his name at the moment, but to be able to, cause some unrest, potentially even begin another civil war that would occupy the Empire's attention for the time being, and, if things went, in the direction the Alliance would like, perhaps a changing of the entire regime in the Empire to one that might be more amenable to peace talks and eliminating the Ascian influence in the capital. And that would be the best case scenario, but at least it might keep the Empire off balance for the time being, allowing the Eorzean Alliance to solidify its position. So, with that plan kind of starting to hash out the details, things took a hard left turn where all of a sudden, all the members of the Scions at the meeting began hearing a mysterious voice and experiencing severe pain. And when that passed, Thancred passed out on the floor, completely unresponsive. And upon investigation and examination, it was determined that something had called his soul away from his body. And while his body was still alive, he basically was completely unconscious and unresponsive. He essentially wasn't there anymore. Not physically, anyway. Well, he was there physically, but not spiritually, I guess you could say. And so, we headed back to the Rising Stones to talk to Eorzea to discuss the situation. Oh, hit the button here. And, while Eorzea and Y'shtola were discussing it and trying to come up with a plan to figure out what's going on, the thing happened again, and this time it knocked out both Eorzea and Y'shtola, who were the only real Scions who might have a chance at figuring out what's going on. So we're kind of in a bad situation here, where the only, primary members of the Scions who are left and functioning at the moment are Alice and the Warrior of Light, our character. So, we still have, a lot of the kind of minor members, Eliane, Hori Boulder, and Riol, and so forth and so on, Coltonay over there. But, kind of the big shots in the Scions are down for the count at the moment, and Alphino's whereabouts are as yet unknown. So, we're kind of short-handed. So, that's kind of where we're at the moment. And we are now beginning Prelude in Violet, which is the name of the final story extension patch of Stormblood. So, we are getting very close to Shadowbringers. And, yeah, it should only be a few more episodes before we are in the new expansion. We do have another dungeon, another duty we're going to have to run at some point here. But, yeah, it's getting close. Alright, well, let's go ahead and talk to Alice and see what we're going to do here. Because we're kind of in a bad situation. Forgive me, that was an unseemly display. It happened before your very eyes, my lady. None here would have behaved any differently. We have borne the two of them to a private chamber, but tell me, is it true that Master Thancred languishes in a like state in Alamigo? I'm afraid so, though given the circumstances, it would seem best to observe them together. I will send word to Lys that he should be brought here. Take heart, my lady. The world is full of scholars and knowledgeable folk of every persuasion. Someone out there is bound to know what ails our comrades, and how it may be cured. Thus we arouse them, no matter what. That we will, Hori. That we will. But first things first, our comrades will have questions. May I ask that you explain the situation to them? I must attend to a private matter. Oh, I promised I'd visit someone in Limsa Laminsa. He's been waiting at Maelstrom Command for a while now. You know, you should come along too. I think he'd be glad to see you. Probably the one scion left who might be able to sort the situation out is Kryl, so I'll probably be in touch with her. But it looks like Alice has someone she wants to visit in Limsa. So let's go find out who that is. Alright, Maelstrom Command, that is going to be on the upper floor. So we'll head to the aft castle. I haven't been back here in a while. Alright. There's Alice. As you probably guessed, it's Gabu we've come to see. The private here will bring him out to us. Ever since the Maelstrom took him in, I've tried to visit as often as I can, and after what befell our friends, I was taken by the urge to visit again. It's difficult to explain. Ah yes, Gabu, the little kobold.
Here he is, my lady.
Gabu, it's been too long.
I'm afraid there's been no change. If he can see or hear us, he has given no sign.
I see. You're still fighting. I'm proud of you. We promised that we would come and visit you together, didn't we? Alphino and I. I'm sorry that we haven't managed that yet. You know, with the three of us like this, does it not remind you of that night? Of the stars beyond count twinkling in the heavens? I was feeling pretty low back then. Powerless. But I knew that my brother was close by if I needed him, and that the others would be waiting for me back at the Rising Stones. Not like now. I've seen my share of trouble since coming to Eorzea. Been reminded again and again of my limitations, of how little I can change about this world. And I've come to know the sorrow of parting all too well. But to have the people I hold dear struck down before my eyes, and be powerless to help them, that I cannot bear.
You don't have to bear this burden alone.
No, I don't. You're right. It's pure arrogance to imagine I can solve everything by myself. You'd think I'd have learned that by now. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. Well, that's more than enough brooding for one day. Come on. We have friends to save.
All right. So, let's see what is going to be next here. Yes, he's just trying to sort things out. Alright, let's return the Rising Stones and take it from there. Thanks again for agreeing to come. It meant a lot to me. Alright, so back to the Rising Stones. Alright, so there's Alice, and let's see if any new news comes along here. I did some thinking on the way back, and I think Hori is right. We need to seek outside help. Ordinarily, we return to our own experts on such matters, but they're both among the stricken. I will begin by reaching out to the myriad guilds and research institutions here in Eorzea. Additionally, Grandfather and Minfilia had a wealth of connections between them, and I mean to explore those avenues too. We'll find a way to save everyone, mark my words. Much more has happened in recent days, some of it for the good, some not so, but all around me, people continue their fight. From the shinobi who search for Alphino to the Alliance members who make ready to move against the Empire, they march on in the face of great adversity, bearing heavy burdens. Everyone is playing their part, and so must I. You have your own part to play, I know. It's bigger than most, so I won't keep you. Just promise that you'll visit from time to time, and I promise I'll have good tidings to share with you when you do so. That is the end of the actual previous patch and the beginning of the new one. So we should get some cutscenes here. Yeah, meanwhile in the Imperial Palace.
The Populares no longer present an obstacle. Now is the time to bring the Empire's might to bear. A word from your radiance is all it takes. But one word, and the Imperial army will fall upon Alamigo as a pack of bloodthirsty wolves and tear that feeble nation apart. Have you no words for me? Despite the lengths I go to, an emissary playing the part of a fool. When first I took this face, I swore to use all of my knowledge, all of my power, to further the cause of the Empire. My deeds stand testament to my commitment. And with this adamant flesh at my disposal, I could destroy the Icon Slayer as easily as one might swat a fly. Why do you hesitate? Our enemy is resourceful. Though victory is certain now, it will not remain so indefinitely. Deliberate if you must, but be quick about it. We'll speak again when you have unburdened yourself of doubt. Until then, I take my leave, Father.
I should be the one to sigh. I played my part to perfection. I had earned my rest, and then, thanks to La Habrea's crowning act of idiocy, our favorite emissary sees fit to summon me back. Elidibus was ever a warrior. A most tiresome trait, would you not agree? What? Have you no words for me either? No matter. I've long grown weary of this mummery. Now, my dearest grandson, let me remind you of your place in the simplest of terms. You do not make judgments, you administer them. Swiftly and to the letter. Naught else is your concern. Elidibus may be an insufferable bore, but he is no fool. His choices as emissary seldom err. If aught threatens the balance twixt light and dark, it falls to you to remove it. Be it by your own hands or by your armies, you have ample means at your disposal. That is why this empire exists, why I built it. Oh dear, have I touched a nerve? You always were an easy one to read. I pity you, I do. As they say, ignorance is bliss. And I know how much happier you would be not knowing the things you know. The Founding Father was an Ascian, and he created the Empire solely for the purpose of sowing the seeds of chaos. Don't take it personally. I merely do my duty. To bring about a calamity requires no small amount of power. And there is no surer way to obtain such power than by collecting powerful pawns. To that end, I have labored long and hard, and I must say I am quite pleased with my handiwork, paltry though it seems in comparison to Alag.
You fiends are overfond of your own voices. Mark me, Ascian. Man is the master of his own destiny.
Such a waste of time and energy, both yours and mine. Lest you forget you are Emperor now. If you wish to spout drivel about man's destiny, save it for the masses. It will serve to give them a sense of purpose, and you pliant pieces for the game. Oh, do stop sulking, boy. You, of all people, should understand. Ours is a struggle to restore both mankind and the world to their rightful state. Viewed thus, our goals are one and the same.
Alright, meanwhile, at a resistance encampment somewhere in the Empire. What in the world? Dead. All dead. Yet I see no wounds, nor any evidence of battle. Damn them. They finally used it. The Empire developed an alchemical weapon in Eorzea, a gas. Black Rose, it was called, and to breathe it is to breathe your last. And that did this? I thought the project abandoned, and its vile fruit destroyed, but naught else could have wrought such an atrocity. Fools. What do they hope to gain with this butchery? Can they not see that a rule won through terror will not endure? How many more provinces must they lose? Nay, wait. This is not the work of men, but monsters, the Ascians. It cannot be a coincidence that their trail led us here. Their objective was never to rule, but to sow strife and discord. Such a crime does indeed bear the mark of the bringers of chaos. Black Rose cannot be allowed to kill again. We must find the Ascians and put an end to their plot. Alright, so that's a lot of information we just got dumped on. But the biggest news is that Solus Zos Galvus, the founding father of the Empire, was an Ascian who built the entire Empire for the sole purpose of sowing chaos. For what purpose? We're still not entirely sure. But it seems that Varys, I think it's Varys, isn't too thrilled about the whole prospect. And then there's this Black Rose thing that was being developed, and that doesn't look like good news at all. Alright, so we're now beginning the final stretch of Shadowbringers. Not Shadowbringers, Stormblood. We're heading towards Shadowbringers. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk to Alice and pick up what the plan is. Alice is at her wit's end.
I'm glad you've come, though I'm afraid there's little in the way of good news. After you left, we reached out to both the Alchemists Guild and Stillglade Fane and attempted all manner of treatments. But the results were always the same. Whatever the answer is, it's not alchemy or conjury. Why did it have to be Y'shtola and Eorzea and not me? Out of all of us, they are the ones who could feasibly have solved this puzzle. And Elfino's still missing. God, it's all going wrong. Where do we even start?
A grave situation indeed. Might I be of some assistance?
Kryle! I did not think you well enough to travel.
When word reached me of the plight of our friends, I could not well stay away. As a fellow scion, not to mention your erstwhile mentor, this is one of those times you should feel free to call on me, regardless of my personal circumstances.
Yes, I should have thought of that. Thank you for coming, Kryle. We would welcome your insight.
And I should be happy to provide it. Now, what's this I hear about Alphino heading into Imperial territory? That boy always did have some funny ideas. Do you remember the speech he gave when he was accepted to the Studium?
My life's goal is naught less than the salvation of this star.
That particular grand pronouncement has been a source of great embarrassment to him, as you know. But the fact of the matter is, he meant every word and has lived his life accordingly.
Yes, he remains altruistic to a fault, but I'm worried he was too fixated on his goals to see the dangers, as has happened before.
You needn't be so concerned. Though his values remain the same, Alphino is not the blinkered boy he once was. Slowly but surely his eyes have been opened, thanks to a certain someone. A certain someone whom he'd be mortified to learn had heard about his little speech. Mum's the word, eh? Right, I'd better have a look at our patients. They're in the infirmary, I assume. I'll need absolute quiet, so it would be best if I did this alone. If you'll excuse me. All three are in fine physical health. At a glance, I would say they were merely sound asleep. Except for the fact that I couldn't sense the slightest trace of them in their bodies. It's as if their souls have taken leave of their physical forms.
Ah, yes. The Elder Seedseer made a similar observation.
I've read the report. When you heard this mysterious voice, you described feeling as if you were somewhere else, yes? If we assume the ether which comprises your essence is being drawn to some other place, then it may be possible to follow the trail it leaves behind, just as we did in our search for Thancred.
I wasn't around for that, but I can't imagine it was easy.
Oh, it wasn't. But that's no reason not to try. I will have need of Master Matoya's crystal eye if I'm even to make the attempt. So I suggest we pay her a visit.
Alright. We're heading back out to visit Matoya again. So, way out to the Dravanian hinterlands. Idleshire is the closest we can get. And we are getting towards the end of my typical recording time, but I think I have a little bit of extra, so we'll go ahead and keep going. Oh, except that I'm having a bit of a throat issue at the moment. So, let me just pause the recording for just a moment. Okay, that should help. Alright, let's head on out of here. I think this direction is going to be best. It shouldn't be too long of a flight here. And there we are. Alright. How'd I say? I heard Master Matoya was something of a recluse, but this seems extreme. Still, I'll happily overlook her eccentricities if she agrees to help us.
Come to disturb my peace again, have you? I hide myself away in a cave, and still you people insist on pestering me with your problems. Oh, I mistook you for young what's-his-name, but I see now you're the sister. Weren't you supposed to be the lively one? I've seen happier faces at a rain-sodden burial.
Well, I'm sorry to dash your expectations, but the situation isn't exactly conducive to gaiety.
Ha! That's more like it. Stoller used to spit and hiss like a wildcat too. Better for a young thing like you to be filled with fire and leave the doom and gloom to your elders. Now, what exactly does this tragic situation of yours have to do with me?
If I may, Master Matoya, we have need of your crystal eye once more.
Make sure to turn that off.
And Stoller is one of the afflicted, is she? Very well. She may be an ungrateful stray, but she's my ungrateful stray, and I'll not see her buried before I am.
Right. Let us see what we can see. I'll begin from where our friends first fell, and cast my senses out from there.
What is it? Did you find them?
This doesn't make sense. How is it even possible?
How is what possible? Kryl, what did you see?
The threads, they just ended. And no, I didn't lose track of them. I followed them as far as they went. It's as if they were cut off.
Could their ether have dissipated if it had? Oh gods! Their bodies are just husks. It's like the Broodmother's daughter all over again.
No, this is different. The Kalyana girl was already dead, body and soul, when Lakshmi affected her resurrection.
Aye, let's not jump to conclusions. If their physical forms yet breathe and show no signs of wasting, then it follows that their souls must still be intact somewhere.
But where?
That's the question, isn't it, girl? Death has not taken them to the ethereal sea, yet there are no tracks left for us to follow.
We're no closer to an answer than when we started. But knowing their souls are still out there is progress of a sort. We just have to keep looking. Pray, excuse me a moment. Yes? I remember, but... What, to Alamigo? We're on our way. That was Lise. Apparently, a group of Populares have defected to Alamigo, and Maxima, the envoy Alphino left with, is one of them. I'm sorry. I realize we've barely begun here, but...
Go, child, go. You've made up your mind, and life's too short for dithering.
I'll do some digging in the meantime and see if there isn't some other method we could use to continue the search.
Let's be off then.
Oh, not again. The enchantment barely seems to take these days. I'd chalk it up to old age, but I rather doubt it's that simple.
Before they took ill, Y'shtola and Eorzea were sharing notes on a thinning of the ether. It seems to be happening all over.
Does it now? And here I was, all set to blame my woes on that creaking mountain of refuse clogging up the Thaliac. I fear something has gone awry. Still, there's naught to be gained from starting in shadows. You can only do what can be done, and that but one thing at a time.
Alright, so that wasn't as productive as hoped, but it's progress of a sort, I guess. Alright, let's go ahead and talk to Alice and see what this whole deal is with the Populares. So that was the woman who tamed Y'shtola. I had the distinct feeling of being grabbed by the scruff of the neck and having the nonsense shaken out of me. When Alphinaud is back, I'd like to visit again and ask her what tale she has of grandfather. Alright, so I guess we're off to Alamigo. Alright, I almost can't bear to hear what Maxima has to tell us. But it can't be bad news, can it? Lise would have said. Unless, there's no point in speculating. Lise said she'd notified the guards of our coming, so we should head straight to the palace gate in the Alamigan quarter. Alright, I'll be praying for good news. Learn what you can about Alphinaud's plight, and leave the search for our friends' lost souls to me. Alright, so I guess it is off to Alamigo, but we'll probably go ahead and end the episode here. And then we'll pick up with that thread when we return. So for now, we'll go ahead and end it here. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you next time.